Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering, live from Autodesk Accelerate 2019. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, we're joined right now by Radu Stancescu from Benson Global. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today and making a little time for us.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get into what you actually do and all of the great work that you're doing, we play a little game with everyone to understand if you're a little more like James or if you're a little bit more like Luke.
Meaning if you're a better person and you're like me, or you're not as nice and you're like James.
These things happen.
Okay, I get it.
Okay, you ready?
All right. Yeah. Go ahead. You lead off
Okay,
this time.
so first question. 3D printing or CNC machining, if you had to choose, which one do you like better?
3D printing, which is Luke.
Oh my god, no, it's not. It's
Oh,
him.
okay.
Pick a CAD tool. Inventor or Fusion 360?
Inventor.
Wow, 50. We're one
Okay,
to one.
one
and
and
one. Simulation, FEA or CFD?
That's going to be 2-1 for one of you.
For one of
And
us.
that would be FEA.
All right. Energy of the future. Do you think it's going to be solar or wind?
Solar.
Okay.
Feeling good about this.
Last question. Wings or tacos?
Tacos.
I still win, though.
You do still
Another
win.
one for Team James. All right, so let's get to what's actually going on here. So before we get into any of the questions, could you just give us a little lowdown on what it is that you do? What would your normal day look like at work?
So I work in the IT department, and I always have a plan while I'm driving to work. I kind of have an idea what I'm going to do, what I plan to do. And it never works because in IT, you have a system somehow like based on tickets. When people have a problem,
Right.
we actually convince them not to call me, show up, email, text, just send the tickets. So of course I'm coming back to work, reading a little bit of newspaper, like I'm not drinking coffee,
enjoying your
and then
morning.
waiting for something to happen, and it happens.
Just waiting for something to break.
Yes, exactly. At the end of the day, like 4:30, when everyone leaves or nobody works after 3 or 4 o'clock, I'm going back to my idea. Like, okay, what was I doing? And then, of course, I'm not doing it because I'm tired.
Right.
And looking at the shopping list, what should I buy when I leave here? And that's the day.
You have to appreciate the honesty.
That sounds like an amazing day.
You nailed it.
I mean, you guys asked for, so
Okay.
you get what you
So,
ask.
so I checked out your LinkedIn profile a little bit. I sent you an invite to connect. You didn't accept yet, but that's all right. So it looks like you're quite the Inventor guru user. Like you've been using Inventor for quite some time. Is that right?
I like people to know that.
Okay.
Because, it's stability at work.
Okay.
Nobody knows how much I don't know.
Okay.
But, I know exactly where to look if I don't know. And I know the people at Autodesk or around me where to go to get the answers. So it's, any software, it's kind of easy, it's A or B, plus or minus, yin, yang. There is an answer somewhere.
Okay.
It's nothing like there is no answer. And I'm so used to answer people like, hey, I don't know. That's a good question. Let me find out.
Let me get back to you.
Let me
I'm
get
good at
back
that
to you.
one. Let
Yeah,
me get back to
exactly.
you.
So do you remember what version of Inventor you started with? Because it's been a while from what I could tell that you've been involved with Inventor and IT and CAD management and that sort of stuff.
Yes, I think it's 2001.
Okay.
I know I moved from the dark side, which is SolidWorks.
We appreciate that.
Yes, actually it's the other way. That's how they call us.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure.
I'm just trying to be, nice.
That works.
So it was 2001. Inventor 12, if I don't remember,
Okay.
10 or 11 or 12, if
Okay.
I remember well.
It was before they went to using the year version. So I
Yes.
think 2000 was when they started Inventor. Maybe 2001 maybe is when they started
That's
Somewhere around
2
there.
years. Yeah, exactly. 2 years before or 1 year before when it was like a yellow cover on the DVD or whatever.
I think I only switched from SolidWorks in 2009, so I mean, can't be too upset about that.
So James isn't really good at most things and
True.
doesn't understand what curtain walls are and external cladding. So that's what Benson does. Could you give us an idea of what Benson does, the types of products they make, the types of customers that they serve with their products?
I mean, that's the wrong person because I'm in IT. I don't have a clue of it. I'm kidding. It's like, so the curtain walls, you look outside new buildings or when they renovate a building, they put all those fancy, sexy curtain walls like glass panels.
Okay.
So it looks good on a building. And that's what we do from the beginning, like designing. We have like several teams on different continents, different countries. And then manufacturing, putting all the pieces together like a whole unit, like one glass, and then putting on a building, erecting on a building wherever the building is.
So you guys do the design, the fabrication. You guys do the installation? Or
Yes, we do the installation. We do everything.
Okay.
And we cover the warranty at the end, a few years. So that's.
Do you understand now what that is?
I think I have at least a little understanding that I might be able to trick someone. I was snooping on your website, though, and there were a whole list of impressive buildings that your products are parts of.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I don't remember all of them. I feel like Mandalay Bay might have been one of them, which, I mean, I'm a little partial to Vegas, so I was pretty impressed by that. But that gives me a good idea of what it is. If you look at that structure, I mean, there has to be some impressive design going into that.
Yeah. And you see the glass.
Right.
So...
You don't see anything else.
You don't see anything.
Right.
If they don't want to see inside. But, you see the glass, but those panels are like... could be complicated because there could be inclined in 3 angles. They have to be painted. There is a lot of like FEA involved, like condensation,
Right,
temperature, humidity, depending where the building is, how tall is the building. Maybe some airplane crashing into, so some structure things going on.
So I imagine that there's a ton of automation that happens with the designs that you folks are doing. Is that something that you get involved in to kind of create those? Because I can't imagine with that many panels that they're making each panel individually, making a model of that. There has to be, they're copying the design, they're reusing some components. I imagine a lot of that's happening.
I would say there is not much automation, and my mind is like we always have like 3 to 5 to 6 projects going on.
Okay.
And they are totally different. You cannot use a building design to another building because they are all different.
all custom.
And when you create a glass panel, like one unit, that's going to be repeated maybe many times. So that's not automation, that's just a copying the same unit again and again and again and again. Maybe automation comes in a way like you place them all together in a building. If you have the right people, to put them all together in one file to look nice. But that's how it works.
All right, so from a data management side of things, you already said that you're working on like 6 projects at a time. You have to have multiple people working on these designs as they're going, both in the office, you're doing the construction yourself and implementation, so they have people accessing this from the field, I'm sure. How do you keep all of this straight, and how does Benson then just deal with data management in general?
So we implemented Vault because before of that, having teams working on 3 different continents, 5 different countries, where is the latest and greatest file? And not one file, there are like tens thousands of files, or not 100,000, but there are multiple files, involving a building. So when you do a change, all these files were replicated to some other location, some other network drives, different continents, different servers, different computers. Nobody knew where is the latest and greatest file. So implemented Vault, which saved a lot because at least it's a centralized location where to go and get the file. And from here, we have like so many different, not type of people, but divisions and type of work that they do. Not just designers, but manufacturers. They put the stuff together, assembling stuff. Even the the manufacturers that are in Korea. No, they have to go there and look at the drawing. So now everything is at one point, one place. Everyone goes there, takes the latest. And
Have you ever had a situation where someone, like say from the manufacturing side, didn't have the latest and greatest and started doing the wrong thing?
we had this. That was happening before, like all the time. That's why we switched, because it was impossible. I mean, think like the file is somewhere. Let's say the latest is somewhere. Someone opens, looks like, okay, maybe I do a change, maybe not, maybe I delete something, maybe, drink some coffee or I forget something, saves, closes. And then that file is actually replicated 3 hours later. And when he opens again after replication, does some design changes, but everyone else is looking to the other thing.
Yeah.
Because, or you save it by mistake and you didn't want to, or you do something wrong. And then you have to restore. And it was bad. It was bad because you never knew if you're looking at the right file, even if the team leader or the project manager was telling you, hey, this is the file. You're always like, okay. Yes, I mean, yes, believe me, it happens so many times, and it's hard because, design team, let's say it's in Manila. They manufacture everything in Korea. They ship it to Mexico to put the units together, right? All the parts together. And then it goes back to New York. So if something happens on all this path, what's happening? I mean, they get on the sites and they go to the 100th floor. They put it together. It's like, it kind of doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they can't even know to track what happened.
Right.
You don't know.
So how have the users been with using Vault? I know sometimes that's a tough transition. I used to work for a reseller, and we would do Vault implementations, and we'd have to do a little bit of Vault training, that sort of thing, and sometimes it takes a little bit of extra effort to get people excited about it. How did your Vault implementation go?
That's actually the key, and that because I have like 12 years experience with Imagine It, working on a reseller,
Okay.
and doing exactly like you said.
Okay.
Look about implementations and training. I knew exactly what's happening. People have a pain. They buy the software. They call the reseller to do the training. Eventually they install or not, but in the end everything gets on the shelf somewhere. People after 3 days of full training, they don't understand some stuff if they don't have anyone inside pushing them and doing some work.
And that was you doing some of that
Exactly,
pushing.
because I knew after 12 years, like, you don't just install it and that's it. I knew that you have to do something constantly. So actually I initiated a training plan, and every week I have like a couple hours with each office training. Like I have training with Vietnam, with India, Singapore, and Manila. Like it's in 30-hour time, but it's working. Our people too. So I always, being in IT, I know what they do wrong, and then I show them like weekly, this is wrong, this is how you do good, this is wrong, this is how you do good. So I always implement and train people like weekly, and I have my system to track who's doing the exercises I do online, and I know exactly who's doing it and
who's not doing it. More importantly,
yeah, because
Right.
I'm lazy. I don't want to answer the
Me
tickets
too.
like every time, same thing. When they ask me, I just send them to the training. We see exercise 144 where I explain it's a video, and that's what it is. So when I get a ticket, it's like, oh, let me see what you didn't attend so
Right.
far. Because rarely like it's like an error.
Right.
And being at Imagine It, I was always training people.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know exactly if they get or not. They were getting me next year, and again I was doing almost the same thing for the same people, and they were never pushing the stuff.
Yeah.
So I knew if I train them ahead of time, I have an easy life. So I don't have to, to help them again and again and again.
So we normally get to see the presentations ahead of time,
Okay.
But you're presenting tomorrow, I believe. So we don't get a chance to see it. If you could give us like a quick snapshot of what your presentation is going to talk about tomorrow, what are some of the things you're going to be hitting on and talking about and sharing here at Accelerate?
Yeah, so what would be, I will present myself with something about my life, what I've done in the past, where did I work, what places, because that's important. That's how I got my experience, and I learned how to do stuff the right way, in the right direction, how to talk to people. So it's gonna be a presentation about myself, about the company, some fancy pictures with our building, with projects, because people have to understand what you're doing.
Right.
And then talking about transition and how Autodesk software helped us, like starting with paper and then going to AutoCAD, then going to Inventor, Vault Professional, Fusion, BIM 360 and all that stuff, and how did we pass each step, how we convince people out of like 3 continents and several languages to follow our direction, to work, not hard, but to work accurate and trust us, because you need to communicate to people. So the key is gonna be training, communication, and trust.
Okay.
Because you work with people, and it's actually a continuous implementation. I can't say like we just implemented Vault and that's it.
Yeah, and you're
You have
done.
to train
That doesn't
them.
happen.
Every there's a new release. Now we're looking for BIM. It's Fusion, it's cloud. Always, there is a progress somewhere. Okay. And if you don't progress, you don't make money.
You've been doing this for a while now. I mean, a couple days at least. So
Yeah, a couple of days and 25 years.
Could you pick could you pick out 1 or 2 of the coolest projects that you've worked on in that time? What would be your top 2 favorites?
I would say back to Imagine, because that's kind of like 12 years when I was coming back for an advanced training or to the same company doing some finite element analysis, some other things like, you do Inventor, you train them with some Bolt, and then they want more. And then coming back, they were actually remembering me and telling me like, hey, what, you taught this and that, showing me the books. It's like, this helped us here. You didn't follow the book, but you communicated us what was the most important thing. So that was good. That helped us. So we really appreciate, and that's why we ask you as a resource to come back and teach us, show us what's the next thing. So that's like an accomplishment. It's not like you go home and then it's like, what did you do? Talking to your wife, it was good. You feel good. You feel like you help someone.
Right.
Because that's me. You help someone will help you somewhere. So
I like it. Well, I think we're getting the sign that we have to wrap this up, but thank you very much for joining us here. Hopefully everybody listening really enjoyed it as much as I did. I certainly appreciated the honesty.
I did too.
Yeah, well, until next time.
See ya.